Hello, everyone, and welcome to At Barrons. I'm Andy Serwer, and welcome to our guest, Gonzalve Bich, CEO of Bic. Nice to see you, Gonzalve.
Lovely to see you. Thanks for having me.
So, everyone knows your company for the lighters, the pens, and the razors.
Shavers,
Yes, exactly. So, tell us about the company. Give us a thumbnail sketch, Gonzalve.
I mean, we're just past our 80 years as a company. My grandfather founded it right outside of Paris in a little town called Clichy. And coming out of the service after World War II, he needed a job. And he went to start working in a stationery wholesaler. Now, let's take ourselves back 80 years. Stationery wholesale back then, you're talking ink pots and quills. And so he's selling desks and ink pots and quills. And this technology here on the US side of the pond was becoming more and more widespread. It dates back to 1877 is actually the first ball pen patent. But up until the 1940s, it really wasn't working very well because the product, you had to refill it kind of like a fountain pen. And so it would leak ink all over. And he came up with a technology after licensing the patent from Laszlo Biro to make the first Bic pen. So he borrows $2,000 in today money, pre-sells the first 100,000 order, and since then, we've never had any debt as a company. The first 5 years was growing in France and Italy and Spain. Very quickly, he moved to the US, Brazil, and other parts of the world. So we've been a global company since the early 60s. Fast forward to about the end of the beginning of the 70s, we're growing, and a small little lighter company in Western France called Flaminaire had gone bankrupt. My grandfather writes to the French Ministry of Trade and said, I'd like to buy this company, please. And we still have the letter in my office, and it says, "Dear sir, you are not and will never be capable of running a lighter company." And today we are by far the uncontested global leader of disposable pocket lighters around the world. And a couple of years later, he met two Greek brothers who had a shave company, and we invested in that company. And so that's the basis of each of the three businesses. Now, over the years, we've grown. Today, you have us in over 106, every country of the world.
Right.
We sell more than 30 million units every day to consumers all over the world, online, offline, in small little stationery shops on the side of the street in Malaysia, or here in Manhattan at your most high-end stationery shop.
Right, and the Bic pen is so ubiquitous. It's a French company, trades on the French exchange,
Correct.
And your family has a controlling interest in the equity, but you can buy the shares on the French exchange, right?
Absolutely.
Yeah, and so how are sales of Bic pens over time? I mean, I'm thinking about the computer age, Gonzalve, where maybe people are not using pens so much, but maybe they still are?
Well, they absolutely still are, because we sell, 30 million units a day, so still quite a day. Quite a large number of products every day. I remember when I started working, it was going to be the paperless office. Well, that has not come true, right? We're still printing, highlighting, and note-taking. What has changed, depending on where you are in the world, is how you use the product. So a lot more discretionary use. Think Post-it notes and Sudokus and crossword puzzles in certain parts of the world, maybe where we are today. But in other parts of the world where literacy numbers are still at 20, 30% of total population, and you still have those numbers growing, the units are going to grow in those countries. So at a global level, think somewhere between -1 and +1 global units on an annualized basis of pens.
Wow. And I want to just sticking with pens for a second. So where do you manufacture, and how many SKUs, how many different kinds of pens do you sell?
A lot is the short number. We manufacture them as close to the point of sale and the consumer as we possibly can. Today we have 22 factories around the world that make those products, and they're different in some cases. So the blue is not the same blue all over the world. We have some countries that want a lighter blue, a darker blue. Most countries are actually split black or blue. And it really has to do with which countries we did what product in the 50s and 60s. So here in the US, we're a black pen country. Other countries, total blue. Some countries are stick pens, the original iconic with the pen cap. Others are the retractable version. And really that has to do with industrial strategy of 50, 60 years ago. driving what was available. And today, that still drives consumer demand.
That's fascinating. I thought the blue ink in the United States was necessary for legal documents. It's preferred.
Preferred, and some cases it's black. So and then in some countries you have what's called archive or archival ink is required for official documents, and so that leads to SKU proliferation. Now, as you said, we sell a lot of products. Over the last few years, one of the things we've really done is reduce the number of SKUs. In the last 5 years, to give you a rough idea, 40% reduction of SKUs, which is making us more efficient, drives down the price and makes it more affordable for the consumer.
But is that hundreds or dozens or scores?
Thousands.
Thousands, wow.
Thousands around the world of SKUs.
You know what I like is the 4-color one. What is that called?
It's called the 4-color.
I like the 4-color one. Okay, we'll call it that.
So my grandfather actually personally designed that one. And today we sell over 120 million of those around the world. They're loved.
I love it. It's got a little ring. You can put a string around it.
Yep.
I like that one. Okay, let's switch over to lighters. Okay, I love this stuff. So lighters, are lighters now more or less prevalent because of TSA rules or stuff? I mean, how has that impacted?
The TSA rules post 9/11 did have a small impact, but that's a temporary blip. If you look at the last 20 years of our sales, actually units go up even if cigarette volumes were coming down. And that has to do with two things. One is, of course, distribution gains, growth of the business, growth of market share, and our own geographic expansion around the world. We're very strong in different parts of the world. So here in the US, we're leader, Mexico, Brazil, France, Spain, Italy, and I can keep going. It's a long list of countries where we're market leader. And that leadership position is really derived around safety for the consumer. We've spent the more than 50 years, so over 100 billion units made and sold in the hands of consumers, focused on the safety of the consumer and the retailer and the chain. That safety is driven in the manufacturing process. So in the manufacturing process, you have over 60 online controls where we're making sure every single part, 100% inspection every day, all year round, to make sure that you're within tolerance and spec, so that we're offering you absolute safety throughout the life of the product, which for a maxi is 3,000 lights. So even if you smoked a pack a day, for example, that's 10 months of use. So really light and long lasting.
But there's another thing that people smoke, and you guys have benefited from that, which is weed, because I noticed that you had Snoop and Martha Stewart.
And Martha.
And Martha together doing a campaign. So that speaks to a different consumer, right?
We are really agnostic of what the consumer is going to use it for.
Not judging here. I'm just, right?
Exactly, right?
Okay.
I know you appreciate fondue as much as I do,
certainly
just like
do.
Snoop and Martha. But really, the benefit has been in making sure that we have other flame occasions. So think more sports and outdoor. Barbecue in the last
With the long lighters, I love
5
those
years,
things.
that's just been
Yeah.
growing all over
That's a
the
great
world.
product.
Here in the US, absolutely, but all over the world, that's gotten us good growth. So the product that Snoop and Martha helped us to launch, Easy Reach, a few years ago, has really grown every year and is continuing to gain share.
All right, let's go to the last of the big three, because I know you have some other products,
Yeah.
which is, you call them razors or shavers.
Both, whichever
Okay.
you like.
And so is that different around the world as well? Or how does that work?
It's different. So it's the same quality blade, it's the same quality product, and that's true of all three of our businesses. We don't differentiate the quality of the product depending on where we're selling it in the world. We believe all consumers should have the same quality. Here in the US, yes, we're going to sell more 5-blade products or the very high end of the range. And in other parts of the world, we're going to be selling more accessible products. Same quality. The shaving rituals are different. So I remember doing a UNA study a few years ago. We were in South Africa, and we had one of the guys was telling us, yes, I shave once a week, and I use the mirror on my motorbike to see myself, and I have a bucket of water next to the side of the road to shave. That's very different from a usage that you might have shaved in this morning, or I did. But really, the growth of the shave business also is on having an offer for the widest possible. So 35 years ago, we started making shavers for ladies specific to that. And then 20 years ago, we created a product that's #1 here in the US called Soleil, Bic Soleil. We actually outsell Venus in units. And that's really been an incredible success through its colors, its ergonomy, but also the benefit from a pure shaving perspective that it offers the consumer.
I mean, Are people growing beards more? You have a beard, so I mean, is this is beard trending and that's bad for the business?
So if you took 100 years of history,
Mm-hmm.
facial hair goes up and down cyclically, almost.
See, I knew you would know that. The cyclicality of beards over time.
Now Blackbeard, the pirate,
Yes.
and I.
Right.
But even Blackbeard had to trim his beard, and so you use quite a bit of product. In today's world, what's added to that is body shaving. So about 10 years ago, we started to see the rise of body shaving. Today, in the US, Western Europe, 1 in 3 men shave their body completely.
Okay,
That's
a lot,
a
of,
lot of
information.
units.
Well, that's a lot of units. It's also a lot of information, but go ahead.
It is.
Okay.
But if we walk down the halls around here and we started asking, and you got people to answer honestly, you would have that.
Right. And what sort of percent market share do you have in the U.S.? Do you have Gillette, which is owned by P&G, right?
Correct.
And then is Schick still around?
It's Edgewell.
Edgewell.
Yes.
Okay.
So it's another publicly traded company.
Got it. Okay. And so what share do you have?
Around 22 to 26, depending on just men and women, just women, which part of the business. But we're about a quarter of the business here in the US. That's up almost 10 points over a decade. And so we've been growing through innovation, distribution. Really, the consumer has seen the benefit both on an everyday basis and also the affordable quality of our products compared to those competitors that you mentioned a second ago.
Yeah, I mean, you have a lower price point than certainly Gillette. I know that, right?
Yes.
And that served you. I mean, is that tied to the economy as well? It must be, right?
No, it's the positioning that we've had ever. I mean,
No, but I mean, would you benefit more in a weaker economy?
you absolutely benefit as long as you're providing the value.
Right.
Just having cheap and cheerful products doesn't work as a strategy over 80 years. No one's built an 80-year business that way. So you have to have the fundamental underlying quality. Now, if you came to our largest R&D facility and you sat there with the electron microscopes looking at 50,000 magnification at the blade edge where all the technology is, it's called the ultimate blade tip, that's where really all the value is created for the consumer, in addition to the ergonomy that's really made our female range so popular and successful.
Sort of broadening out, and I'm really interested to hear your take on this, Gonzalve, which is tariffs. And because you've got it coming and going all around the globe. And so I'm interested to get your perspective on this incipient tariff war, if you will.
Well, it's a very fluid situation, right? Last week's reality is not this week's reality, and I don't know what next week's reality will be. But first of all, we're a global manufacturer, so we have that natural hedge where we move products around the world, and we've been doing it for a long time. Fundamentally, what I'm very focused on is that quality of the product. No matter what the realities are outside the walls of my manufacturing facilities, I never want that to affect how I'm making the product, the safety, the quality, and really the essence of the innovation that I'm bringing. Then I market it with our retail partners around the world to make sure that we're providing that value for money equation. So we'll pack up, we'll pack down, we'll change colors, we'll do what's necessary. But next year will have its challenges. And as I said, we've grown 10 points of share in a decade, so we want to continue to do that over time.
Right. You're so passionate about this and so engaged, but you're stepping down in September. Talk to us about that. What brought that decision on?
So I've been doing this for 20 years, and it's been an amazing ride. I've been very fortunate. I've worked all over the world in different capacities. And 8 years ago, when I became CEO, we had never had a corporate strategy. And we were doing very well as a company, but we weren't operating as the global unit that we are today. And I've spent that time reorganizing the organization so that it can weather the challenges that I don't know what will come in 2 years, 5 years, 10 years. But as a long-term capital family shareholder, I want to make sure that the organization is fighting fit. And we did what was necessary to make sure that we've been able to have the last couple of years that we've had. And our strategic planning cycle comes to an end at the end of this year. The Horizon plan that I launched, which was reframing the 3 categories, investing in new businesses like tattoo, like the hairbrush deal and kind of venture that we did at the end of last year. And I thought that was the natural stepping point for me to pass the pen, if you will. And
Pass the pen.
Pass the pen.
Got it.
It's really important, I think, that leadership also considers succession. It's not the last chapter of the book. It's something that you really have to be planful and mindful about. And so the board and I worked on this last year, and I'm very excited about next year for me, but even more excited about what it means for Bic for the years to come. I think we're very well positioned to navigate challenges and seize opportunities.
All right, so tell us about the succession process. Where are you in that right now?
There's a committee that's made up of a select number of board members, and we're meeting lots of interesting candidates. And when we're ready to announce to our investors and to the organization, because super important to the team members who my successor will be, and then I'll do a transition with her or him over a certain number of months. And probably by the end of September, I will step completely out and watch the organization flourish.
Before I ask you what you're going to do, what kind of person are you looking for people out there who might want to apply for this job? Phone lines must be open.
The phone lines are definitely open. Yeah. We're an organization of ambitious entrepreneurs, but when you have an 80-year history, you have deep roots and values. And something I've always believed in, been told, is you never renege those values and those roots. So somebody that understands that, somebody that understands the global dynamics, right? So I told you we're in 160 countries around the world. We have direct operations in over 50 of those. I have 15,000 amazing team members. That's the breadth of what we're talking about. Of course, we want someone who's long-term focused, understands the brand, and really is passionate about our businesses and our teams.
And so what are you going to do? You're still a young guy.
I'm still a young guy. A number of things, but the first thing that I'm doing, and I'm so excited about this month, I'm launching my personal family foundation around autism. It mirrors my personal parental journey. I have 4 children, and I've discovered this world and been, on the one hand, changed by the journey, but also discovered the importance of strengthening family units and making sure that we take the whole family into consideration to have the best possible outcomes, not only for the people affected by autism, but their siblings, their parents, and their broader communities and families. And so the foundation will be working on that in the years to come, and that's something I'm super passionate about. But I'm an entrepreneur at heart as well, so you might see me do some other things in the years to come.
And you live in Connecticut. Do you still have family in France?
I have family all over the world. I have a huge family. My dad had 10 brothers and sisters, so I'm one of a huge consortium of cousins. And then my kids, their generation's already over 75 different cousins, so we have them all over the world, which is great because it means when I travel, I get to have Sunday dinner with someone somewhere.
That's great. I want to shift back to a couple of products that you mentioned because diversifying into other areas must always be on your mind, whether to do that or not to do it. And you mentioned temporary tattoos, yes. And then also the Tangle Teaser, I think it's called. We can talk about those two a little bit.
The hairbrush.
Yeah.
So the temporary so we're the #1 manufacturer and brand of temporary tattoos around the world today. That started over a decade ago. We had this small internal brand called Bodymark that were tattoo pens. Fun, and you can draw them on your kids or yourself, but not very long lasting. And then we acquired a company in Canada called Inkbox that was the #1 in that space. And if I rolled up my sleeves today, I'm fully covered.
Tats.
Yeah.
But they're temporary tats?
They are temporary, so they last.
I can see a little bit. Oh. Yeah.
They last 2 or 3 weeks, depending on your skin type. So it's kind of all tatted.
I love that.
I'm all tatted up
that's
today.
The whole thing of a tattoo is you might regret it in a year.
So about 20% of our business is testing your tattoo. We have a custom design engine. You send us, I don't know, I saw that a couple of weeks ago, the UAE government created a new symbol for the dirham. So we can do like financial symbols, and we can do your whole arm in financial symbols.
Tickers, yeah.
And then 2 weeks later, we can do Japanese tattoos. It doesn't matter. It's infinite, vegan, absolutely skin safe, and fundamentally so much fun because you can match it to your mood, you can match it to what's going on outside in the world, you can match it to an amazing event. So I did a couple the last time I had a kid, which was a few years ago. there's also a fashion component. And so that's been a great business, and we're continuing to invest in different parts of the temporary tattoo space. And then there's, at the end of last year, we were incredibly happy and fortunate to be able to announce the acquisition of Tangle Teezer, which is this great English company that I knew a decade ago. So I lived in London about 2010, and my then girlfriend, now amazing wife, had bought this product called Tangle Teezer, and it was a premium hair detangling product. Fast forward, that team led by James did an incredible job, grew into the #1 hairbrush company in the UK. It was a startup, now it's a big company. #4 here in the US. And so we've brought them into the Bic system, and we're incredibly happy and excited about what that means for the years to come, because you do need to diversify outside of just human expression, Flame for Life, which is the lighter business, or the Bic, the blade business.
And final question, Gonzalve, that is, why should investors buy this stock right now?
Well, we have an 80-year track record of around the brand and around these amazing products of having this connection. We sell to Mr. and Mrs. and their children, everyone, everywhere around them. So as we grow the unit base, as we grow the value of the company, and if you look at the last few years, we've delivered on our promise, which was to grow about 5%, a little bit more than 5% actually, in industries that are growing 0 to -1. We've delivered over our commitments in adjusted EBIT and especially in cash flow. This is a company that has great strength and a team that knows how to manage difficult situation, so I think is going to do very well for the years to come. I mean, I'm a significant investor, and I'm very happy.
Gonzalve Bich, CEO of Bic, thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you, Andy.
This is at Barrons. I'm Andy Serwer. We'll catch you next time.